I'm filling in for Catherine Ambrose, who's on the road, and I'm Mindy East. It's my pleasure and honor to be with you this week. So thankful and grateful for America and our veterans. We just came off of Veterans Day. Tim is our guest speaker. He's going to be speaking for the first half of the morning. We'll have a brief little break where Club Hope comes in and gets our energy flowing, and then we'll go back to Dr. Watt. He is a double board certified neurosurgeon. I get that right unless you're sitting right there in front of me. He's a brain surgeon. He's also an anti-aging doctor. He is with Synergenics Performance Health Management. This is something that you can do. He's actually located in Denver, that part of his practice. So he'll tell us more about that. And he's a veteran and one of my dearest friends from John Marshall Junior High and North High School. Please welcome Dr. Tim Watt.
So, thank you all for coming out. Scott didn't ask how many people are from Amadon in the 1100 block, and I grew up right down there, so I'm back home. I want to apologize when I step on some toes. I do anti-aging medicine now, and the ideal time to start an anti-aging program is before you're born. The worst time to start it is after you die. And so, as I talk about things I want you to do, I want you to realize it is not too late. If you can put one foot in front of the other still, you can get better. And my goal for myself is I'm a work in progress. I want to be better next year than I am this year. It's my goal for all of my patients. It's what I'd like to see for all of you. And there are a lot of things that we do in anti-aging and age management, some of which can be kind of pricey, but price a nursing home, price cancer care, your money's going to go somewhere. Some things are actually very easy to do, and I'm about to step on the toes of one of the sponsors. The table that was over there, they must have known I was going to say something, and they ditched it. Sugar is the devil's tool. The foundation of living a healthy life is your lifestyle. I try to avoid the word diet because diet implies something you do for a little while. And you get tired of doing it, and you go back to what you were doing. And you say, well, the stinking diet didn't work. I'm fat and tired again. Well, because you went back to what you were doing before. In terms of lifestyle, it's 80% what you shove in your mouth, and it's 20% exercise. You have to do both, But when Mindy and I were at John Marshall, and at North even, you could have all kinds of debauchery, and in 3 or 4 days, you were right back where you started again. Welcome to being a grown-up. You can no longer outrun your fork. You cannot out-exercise a bad diet. So what was the problem with what was over there on the table? Well, there was orange juice. Please, I don't want any of you to ever take a sip of orange juice ever again. Ever.
No screwdrivers?
We'll get there later. Anybody that's in the medical world knows that when a patient is in the hospital who's diabetic, and they're accidentally, not that hospitals ever have accidents, they're accidentally given too much insulin, and they're going into a hypoglycemic crisis. The nurse rushes in with a little orange cup of orange juice and the straw, and you sip the orange juice and your blood sugar comes right back up. If it works for somebody that's about to die from hypoglycemia from an insulin overdose, guess what it does for all the rest of us? Okay? So sugar is the last thing on earth you want to be consuming. It is the root of all evil, okay? I'm sorry, it just is. People come in and they always say, Doc, what's the secret to eating right? Meat and veggies. They say, but no, what's the secret? The secret is the corn the rice, the potatoes, the pasta, the bread, the fruit juice, the alcohol are not veggies. Lots of meat, real vegetables like Mom wanted you to eat. The broccoli, the asparagus, the Brussels sprouts, the cauliflower. There's a zillion of them. I see you making the face. Quit making the face. When R.J. Reynolds and Philip Morris were the biggest, most profitable companies in this country, was when C. Everett Koop came out and said, smoking is killing people, stop it. Nobody had heard of the Surgeon General until then. And so what did the folks at Philip Morris do? They said, geez, we've got more money than God, but tobacco is about to become less profitable. They started buying food companies. And they openly have admitted that they took the playbook from the tobacco company and transferred that to the food industry and said, how do we make this addictive? How do we make this attractive? How do we make you buy more and more and more of it? And the answer was sugar. Sugar is addictive. Sugar lights up the same part of your brain on a functional MRI scan that cocaine does. So you eat the sugary food, and by the way, if you're taking notes, the only math I'm going to ask you to learn. The labels are misleading. When you look at the label, total carbohydrate minus fiber, that's sugar. Total carbs minus fiber is sugar. That line added sugars, they stuck that in there. That's table sugar. So I go, oh, it's 35 grams of carbs, it's only got 5 fiber. There's only 2 grams added sugar. No, there's 30 grams of sugar in that. Because what counts is how rapidly your body absorbs it. The thing that annoys me is carbohydrate biochemically means it's made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Okay? The trees out there are carbohydrate. But unless you're a termite, it really doesn't matter to you, okay? So, Bill, I've got to cut carbs. No, I don't want you to cut carbs. I want you to quit eating the high glycemic, sugary, poisonous carbs, okay? The orange juice, the donuts, the breakfast food cereal, the oatmeal, the bread, the pasta. Oatmeal's horrible. Sugar, 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 sugar. Total carbs minus fiber. So you eat your oatmeal. I'm not going to come to your house and slap it out of your hands. You eat your oatmeal, what happens? Your body absorbs it rapidly, your sugar level shoots. There's a hormone called insulin. Insulin's job is to get the sugar out of your system. So now your insulin shoots up in the air, shoots up in your blood system. Remember, our biochemistry is 50,000 years old. Your body thinks the famine is coming. The famine doesn't come, DoorDash comes, but your body thinks that we have to latch on to food because the famine's going to come. And guess what the fat around the middle is? It's your bank account for when the famine comes. So when your sugar goes up, the insulin is the let's store calories as fat hormone, and it all goes right here. Right here. Now, biochemistry is complicated. Insulin is pro-inflammatory, and chronic inflammation leads to all the things that let your kids pick which home to put you into. The osteoporosis, the arthritis, the atherosclerosis, the sarcopenia, they all love chronic inflammation. Short-term inflammation, life-saving. Chronic inflammation is like when your in-laws move in. The longer they stay, the worse it gets, okay? So insulin does bad things all by itself, but back to the sugar. Insulin says, I speak anthropomorphically, I apologize. Insulin says, gee, we wouldn't be high unless there's calories here, and we know the famine's coming. So what else does insulin say? Insulin says, oh, no, 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 you are not releasing any free fatty acids from fat. As long as your insulin's high, it is extremely difficult to lose weight because insulin is saying, no, we're storing this because the famine's coming. okay? So you eat the sugary carbohydrate and it goes straight here. And if you eat the sugary stuff often enough, because nothing is better than oatmeal except oatmeal every day, now your insulin's high all the time, okay? Hormones lock onto receptors on a cell membrane, and for insulin, it's like it says, open the door, let the sugar in. But if you're eating the sugar all the time, your insulin's high all the time, and eventually your cell says, you again, you were just here. We're not going to listen to you. Your cells become insulin resistant. So you have to have more and more and more insulin to get the same job done. Meanwhile, the insulin is working against you for getting rid of the fat. It's raising your inflammation. It's messing with your fatty acid balance. The fat around the middle, by the way, causes inflammation all by itself. It's a hormonally active organ and produces inflammatory cytokines. Okay, so it's this vicious cycle. And insulin resistance is the first step down the road to diabetes, which is a terrible disease. Why did I leave neurosurgery and go into anti-aging medicine? That's a real long story. But, and my apologies, because I think you're on the A team. There is no health care in mainstream medicine. None. It's not health care. Pisses me off when they talk about your health care dollars. It is sickness treatment. Okay? You come in and your hemoglobin A1C is 5.8, which is astronomically high, and what does your real doctor say? Says, you're not diabetic yet. Come back when you are. Because mainstream medicine is disease treatment. And in fairness, no doc gets up and says, I'm going to do some bad medicine today. But in medical school, we're taught, how do you treat the sickness? Nobody ever says, how do you not get sick? Well, guess what? Type 2 diabetes is self-inflicted. I'm sorry, but it's the choices you make that cause you to become diabetic. Osteoporosis is self-inflicted. The choices you make prevent osteoporosis or cause it. Muscle loss, the number one predictor that you lose independence and get to go to the home. Self-inflicted. You make the choices to not lose muscle, or you make choices that do cause you to lose muscle. But mainstream medicine ignores the fact that what we're doing with our lifestyle, what we're eating, what our activity level is, what supplements we're taking to make up for the nutritional deficiencies in the food we are eating, even when we're trying to eat good. They ignore all of that. And they just say, come back when you're sick. And then they look at you as though your illness was an Old Testament God that just struck you down with hypertension or struck you down with diabetes. It wasn't a vengeful God. It was a culmination of little tiny bad choices that weren't bad enough that you felt them. If the first time you ate trans fats you had crushing chest pain and fell to the floor, you'd get up and say, geez, I'm never doing that again. What was I thinking? But it doesn't work that way, okay? So you eat the oatmeal. I'm sorry. I'm going to go over here so I don't pick on you anymore. One of you over here has the orange juice, okay? If you're very attuned to your health, there's a good chance that afterwards you go, hey, you know, feel a little off. But you don't feel deathly ill, okay? So you don't get taught a lesson, don't do that. And what else happens? Since this occurs slowly, you look around and everybody else is in the same boat. I mean, one of the saddest things about social media is I've finally gotten into the group where I can't go 2 weeks without seeing an obituary. It's like I went to school with that old person. What? And what's worse than that is you see the people, and I know you know them. They're not officially dead yet. But they're not living anymore. They sit on the porch and they watch the grandkids play and they say, God, I wish I could go play with the kids. I would love to be out there throwing a ball with the grandkids. But my knees hurt, my back hurts, and my balance is off, and I'm forgetful. Okay, and I just can't do it. They're not living, they're crossing off the days waiting until Jesus calls them home. Now, speaking of which, I have no illusions, okay? Yes, one day Jesus is going to call you home. But mainstream medicine, with their disease treatment model, has a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you're about 25, you're in great health, and it slowly gets worse and worse and worse, and you're finally so stinking miserable you wish they would pull the plug, but the kids feel guilty and they won't let you go. What I want is that you get healthy and you stay healthy and you stay healthy and you stay healthy, and yeah, one day you're gone. But wouldn't it be nice if the day before you die, you were playing golf? You were teaching the great-grandkids to play golf. You were taking up windsurfing. And giggle all you want. Your goals are your goals. My goal is I am going to teach my great-grandchildren to downhill ski, and I am going to scuba dive with them, and I'm going to windsurf with them, because I'm in better health now than I was when I was in college. I am stronger and faster now than when I was on active duty attached to the 10th Mountain Division. And there's nothing special about me. I made some different choices. So you have to start with what you're eating, and it's meat and veggies. And that's it. And I'm sorry if you go, well, geez, we came all the way out here and it's the stinking meat and veggies. Okay, it's like, where's... Now, what your food eats counts. So ideally, it's free range. Ideally, it's grass-fed, because I just told you there's nothing worse than sugar. The only thing worse than sugar actually are grains, because not only are they sugar, they've got a bunch of other evil, poisonous things in them. We should not eat any grain products ever. Get away from all grains. All grains. Period. If you want to feel better, and you will. People come off of this garbage, and then they go, a couple of weeks later, they go, you know, it's odd. My joints feel better. My brain fog's gone. My bloating's gone. My bowels are regular. Isn't it wonderful when you get to a point in life where you sit around and talk about your bowel movements? Jeez. Okay? But you get better. Okay? So if the cow that you're going to eat is being fed GMO modified corn sprayed down with Monsanto's glyphosate, guess what you're eating? You're eating the glyphosate too. And you're eating the omega-6 fatty acids that are in the corn, not the healthy omega-3s that were in the grasses. So the quality of your meat matters. Organic vegetables, if you can get them, matter. Okay, and again, people go, oh, now you're talking expensive stuff. Okay, I haven't done this yet. We're going to at some point. I got to find a supermarket that won't throw us out for doing it, because I have a YouTube channel, Tim Watt MD. And the video I want to shoot, that's my beautiful wife, Kim. We're going to go through the grocery store, and we're going to load up one cart full of real food. Organic veggies, meat, a few berries for her. She's kind of an addict, but no bananas or tropical crap, okay? And then in the cart over here, the Mountain Dew, the Doritos, the Pop-Tarts. You ever looked at the price of a bag of chips and the weight of a bag of chips? It's like $35 a pound that you're paying for potato chips, and you're going to tell me that ground beef is expensive? So I want to fill them up and then run them through the line and see what the price is. And I'm stone cold certain a cart full of garbage is going to cost as much or more. I'm just worried that when I say, well, actually, we're not taking this shit with us. Sorry. Then they're going to be pissy. And then, but it's not that expensive. And like I already said, the money is going to go somewhere. So you can invest in discipline, or you can invest in regret. You can pay some money to be healthy, not to please me, but so you can live your life. Or you can say, pfft, and then you get to pay the money to the hospital and the extended care facility. Okay? And they don't care about you. They care about their bottom line. I'm sorry if that sounds harsh, but, I mean, how many people in here take a prescription medicine? Yeah, virtually everybody. And how many get it for free? No one. I mean, some of you, VA or Medicare, cuts it down, okay? But if you're on a bag full of drugs, you're paying money every month for the bag full of drugs. Well, what if you paid the money to not need the drugs? So when I start saying things like, don't eat grains, I'm serious, don't eat grains of any kind. They're bad for you. You'll go, how am I going to do that? No, figure out why you're going to do that. Okay? I bet a lot of you ladies in here have children. If you were out on the sidewalk and your baby was in that house and that house was on fire, would you stand on the sidewalk and say, how am I going to get my child out of that burning house? No. After you had your baby out on the sidewalk with you, you might say, how did I ever do that? But your how would be so big. Doesn't matter, because your why is bigger. It's your baby. Okay? So when I have people that come to see me, I don't say, do this to make me happy, because that's not a very big why. Oh, yeah, right. No, wrap your brain around what your why is. Okay? Do you want to watch your great-grandchild get married? Do you want to play 18 holes with your grandson, able to walk the course? Okay? You figure out why you're doing it, and the how to do it becomes a lot easier. So first things first, plenty of protein. Because I said this en passant. Sarcopenia, that's our Greek word for losing muscle. As soon as we put it in another language, it becomes important, and there's a better chance we can bill for it. Sarcopenia is the number one predictor that you get to go to the home. Because as you lose muscle, you lose independence. First, you can't do the things you want to do. You're not skiing anymore. Then you can't do the things you need to do. You're not mowing the lawn. Then you can't do the things you got to do. You're not going up the stairs. And then that disgusting daughter-in-law that never liked you is pricing out which nursing home to stick you into. Okay? So muscle is the substrate protein is the substrate to support your muscles. And by the way, your bones, because the calcium's laid down on a proteinaceous collagen scaffolding. So plenty of protein. There's virtually none of you in here that are getting enough protein. I know that's a blanket statement, but I'd bet $20 on it. At a minimum, you need to be getting 1 gram of protein for every pound of ideal body weight. And most of you have no clue what 150 grams of protein looks like. It takes some serious eating. Okay? Then you backfill in with veggies. And by the way, if you prioritize your protein, and it's a lot of protein, there's not a lot of room left over for the dog and Haas and the Doritos and the crap I don't want you eating. So you eat your protein, you backfill with real vegetables, organic if you can afford it or lay your hands on it, or guess what? This is Kansas. You actually have a growing season. Put some veggies in the backyard, okay? Get you out in the sunshine and the fresh air. So you start by eating right, but then you still have to exercise, okay? Old saying, use it or lose it. Now, when people come in and ask me, what's the best exercise program, I very glibly say the exercise you'll do. Okay, because anything's better than sitting on the couch trying to figure out how to run the Nintendo. So you got to know your audience. 13-year-olds, you wouldn't say that. But weightlifting is the most important thing for you to do. Resistance training. If you are not lifting weights, you are losing muscle. If you are not lifting weights, you are making the choice to become osteoporotic. After 70, when a woman has a pathologic hip fracture from osteoporosis, 30% of them will be dead in less than 6 months. Dead. It is a choice You can sit on the couch. Your body does what you ask it to. You sit on the couch and you watch Netflix. You are asking your body to lose muscle. You are asking your body to become osteoporotic. And your body's going to say, well, if that's what you want, okay. You get off your potato and you start picking up heavy things. You're asking your muscles and your bones to get stronger. Heavy things. Now, that's different from person to person. Okay? So, to say, okay, everybody in the room line up, we're all going to deadlift 250 pounds. Okay? I can do it. But what counts? Start. You got to start. And guess what? When it starts getting easy because you're doing it over and over and over again, what's the time to do? You kick the can down the road and you get it heavier. No, I don't want you to blow out your back. I don't want you to hurt your knee. But when you are lifting, and again, it doesn't matter if it's resistance bands or dumbbells at home or really going to a gym, okay? People say, well, I travel a lot, I'm in the hotel. Pick up the chair in the hotel, okay? It's got to be heavy enough that you say, man, I am going to feel this tomorrow or the next day. That's when you've strained your body a little bit. To build your bones so you don't get osteoporotic, fall down and break your hip and die, you have to load the bone, which generates what's called the piezoelectric effect. Basically, you pick up something heavy and your bone says, this crazy lunatic is going to crush us if we don't get stronger. So your bones will get stronger if you lift weights. If you don't, they will not. Now, most important thing, quit eating the sugar, quit eating the grains. And remember, see, we grew up with this lie, healthy fruits and vegetables. It should be illegal to say that in one sentence, okay? Fruits are not the same thing as veggies. And dried fruits are worse. Why do the grandkids love raisins? You sucked all the water out and left the sugar behind. Okay? So, first thing first, you get rid of the sugar. You get rid of the grains and all the toxins in that. You eat your meat. You eat your protein. And again, I say meat. Oh, I don't like eating red meat. Fine. Drink protein shakes. Get your protein in. Get your vegetables in. Then you got to exercise. And in an ideal world, you're going to lift weights and you're going to do something aerobically. For those of you that used to be in business or maybe still are, the concept is ROI, return on investment. You're going to invest some time and energy into exercising. Your ROI is dependent on intensity, not duration. Okay? When I've got someone that says, well, my grandson likes to ride the bicycle around the neighborhood, so I like to ride the bike around the neighborhood with. Fine. Okay, but if your grandson's 4 years old, the rate you're riding the bicycle at, that's an activity. Okay, my patient says, I get plenty of exercise. I walk Fluffy every day. I say, well, is Fluffy a racing greyhound? Because if you're walking your shorty poo, you're kidding yourself. So you've got to lift heavy enough that you strain the bones and the muscles. And they say, geez, are you sure you want to do this? Okay, you want to do that? Fine, we'll get stronger. Your aerobics has to be intense enough that you get short of breath. Don't turn blue and fall on the ground, but if you're not literally short of breath, if you're not trying to catch your breath, your ROI just tanked. Okay? Long durations of low intensity is an activity and your ROI is pitiful. So especially when you say, I don't like the sound of this, I've got better things to do than go to the gym. Guess what? I've got more important things. No. I've got things that pay me more money than going to the gym. They're not more important because as soon as I get too feeble to go to work, I'm not going to be making any money either. So see, again, you got to frame your why. But if you give me 30 minutes of lifting hard enough that it's going to make you sore, that's going to give you more benefits than an hour and a half of going through the motions. Because I've got the gals, they get their little Jane Fonda dumbbells, 5 pounds, and they're whirling them around. And I guess that's better than sitting on the couch, but are they getting any stronger? No. And I get the guys, and I tell them, okay, get off your batito and get to work. So he listens, and he goes home, and he puts 70 pounds on the bar, and he starts lifting 70 pounds, and 9 months later, he's gotten really good at lifting 70 pounds. Is he getting any stronger? No. He's just gotten really efficient at lifting 70 pounds. So as soon as he can lift the 70 pounds easily, what's he got to do? He's got to lift 80, and then he's got to lift 90. It's the old story about Hercules as the boy, and he had the baby calf, and he carried the calf every day. And eventually, he's carrying a giant bull. Okay? Start. I don't care how feeble you are. There's stories all over the place about the person that could barely walk, and now they're running marathons. They didn't get up one day and say, I'm going to run a marathon. They said, God. They looked in the mirror, and they said, holy moly, what have I done to myself? And by the way, when I went to medical school, we were taught COPD was a one-way street. As soon as you had restrictive pulmonary disease, as soon as your forced expiratory volume went down, kiss it goodbye, you're never going to see it again. That's not true. You can improve pulmonary function with high-intensity interval training. And everybody in the room has a different level at which qualifies as high intensity. But again, to use the example, if you went to Planet Fitness or you're at the gym, okay, you're on the elliptical, he's working up a sweat. There's this awful pretty gal here on the elliptical next to him. And he starts talking to her. No, your ROI just went down. If you've got breath enough to be talking, it don't count. But again, it doesn't matter whether you're moving super fast or so fast. What matters is, are you literally at the point that, hang on, I'm going to get back to you in just a minute. Let me catch my breath here. That's aerobic exercise. That strengthens your lungs. That strengthens your heart. And the lifting will strengthen your bones, and it will strengthen your muscles. After you do that, then you've got to say, what am I missing with my diet? I scolded Scotty because he couldn't tell me what his vitamin D level is. How many people in this room know what their vitamin D level is? And about what I thought. So, we get our vitamin D from sunlight. You're looking at your watch. Do I need to sit down? Okay. Remember I said our biochemistry is 50,000 years old. We haven't had any evolutionary changes in a long time. Your biochemistry thinks you are buck naked in the tropics. And you've never met a dermatologist. There is no sunscreen. There are no floppy hats. There's no rash guards. If you're buck naked in the tropics without sunscreen and a floppy hat, you can make enough vitamin D from sunlight. Guess what you cannot do in Wichita, Kansas? I don't care if you've got a really sweet swimming pool in your backyard and you're hanging out buck-ass naked all the time. There's not enough sunshine this far north. We were not evolutionarily designed to be in temperate climates. As soon as we moved out of subtropical zones, our vitamin D levels started going down. When I was at KU a million years ago, one of the great mysteries of life was multiple sclerosis was a disease in northern latitude. The further north you go, the more MS, the more Hashimoto's thyroiditis, the more lupus, the more rheumatoid arthritis. They're autoimmune diseases. Vitamin D is the single most important modulator of your immunity. When your vitamin D level is low, your immune system doesn't work right. Why is cold and flu season in the winter? Because if you're not taking vitamin D up here, your level already is pitiful. Now it's winter, shorter days, more clothing, more inside. The already low level of the population in general gets lower still. Cold and flu season. Cold viruses don't go to Belize in the summer. They just can't get any traction when the vitamin D level's a little bit higher. What is everybody in this room doing right now? We are all making cancer cells. All of us. We make them constantly. Your immune system is the bouncer at the door of the club saying, you get in, you don't. The worse your immune system is, the better the chance the cancer cell slips under the velvet rope, snags one of the VIP tables. Low vitamin D, increased autoimmune disease. Low vitamin D, increased infection. Low vitamin D, increased cancer. Low vitamin D, osteoporosis. You have to have vitamin D to support your bone health. So again, I very harshly said osteoporosis is a choice. You can choose to not take vitamin D. You can choose to have a low vitamin D level. You can choose to not lift weights. If we're really going to spend a little bit of cash, you can choose to let your hormones go down the toilet. And that's going to cause osteoporosis, guaranteed. You can choose to fix your hormones. You can choose to take your vitamin D. You can choose to eat more protein and lift heavy. And God is my witness, you will not get osteoporosis. And if you've got it, you can turn it around. But you got to start. And one of my videos is on how much vitamin D should I take, and my answer is no one goes to the gas station and says, how much do I put in? Okay. Fill the tank. So you have to go to the lab and get your level drawn. And you take vitamin D, and then what do? You get your level done again. Because if it's not where it belongs, how much are you taking? Not enough. Now, subtropical biochemistry. One of my friends said, okay, 50,000 years ago, buck naked in the tropics, went to La Jolla, outside of San Diego, rounded up all the La Jolla lifeguards, bunch of 20-somethings, just this side of buck naked, not big believers in sunscreen, SoCal sunshine. Into the summer, their vitamin D levels average 93. Not taking bupkis. If your vitamin D level is not between 85 and 95, you have a vitamin D deficiency because healthy young physiology with full body exposure to intense sunlight does that naturally. Naturally. And guess what the lifeguards aren't? They aren't osteoporotic, and they're not out with the flu. By the by, I'm going to step out on the thin ice. The jab of death was worthless, and all this follow the science crap was not getting an experimental injection that causes blood clots and myocarditis and heart attacks, and oh, by the way, cancer. I'm seeing it every week. The real science was from studies all around the globe. Vitamin D level below 30 was the #1 predictor that you got the COVID and that you died of the COVID. And in Germany, when you presented to the hospital with the COVID, and they decided that you were on the protocol and they gave you the pro-hormone form of vitamin D by IV, you went home the next day. So follow the science, take your vitamin D. Do I get a flu shot? No. Do I get a Pneumovax shot? No. It's BS. It's big money. They're worthless. The CDC's admitted. Okay, how do they have the flu shot for you right now? Because back in April, they decided which flu variety they were going to make a shot for. CDC admits they're wrong 54% of the time. So half the time you're getting a shot that isn't for the flu that's going around this winter. And that ignores all the crap that's in the carrier. The mercury, the thimerosal, the formaldehyde. So, do I get vaccinated? Uh-huh. It's called vitamin D. It's called your own immune system. I will not get a vaccine. I haven't gotten a vaccine in ages. Guess what I'm not? Not sick. Haven't missed a day of work in over 20 years. Oh, I had an emergency appendectomy. I worked the day of the surgery, but I was out a couple of days afterwards. I was pissed off they didn't let me do an operation before my operation. But you got to take your vitamin D, okay? There are some supplements you have to take because even when you're eating clean, there ain't enough good stuff in your food. But first things first, how much does it cost you to not go over to the table that has the orange juice? Nothing. Doesn't cost a red cent. So when people go, I don't know if I can afford all this anti-aging crap. Doesn't cost you any money to quit eating the donuts. It doesn't cost you any money to walk away from the bread. It doesn't cost you any money when you go to the restaurant and they bring the bread basket and you say, no thanks, take it away. I have never once sat in a restaurant and said, I'll have the steak, no baked potato, extra vegetables, and had them throw me out. They won't do that. And they don't even charge you more for the extra vegetables. They just say, okay, fine, no potato. Fine. What did that cost you? It cost you the effort of saying, no potato, extra veggies. It's not a dime out of your pocket. Your arthritis will get better. Your brain fog will improve. Your weight will go down. Your energy will go up. What's all that worth? If you get to play with the grandkids, what's that worth? Okay? So you can say, it's vegetables. Try them. For Pete's sake, your mother spent hours going, please eat this, okay? She'll look down from heaven and smile. You're eating the eggplant and the broccoli, fine.
One of the things that I wanted Dr. Tim to talk to us about is how important having cholesterol is. And Tim put, or Dr. Watt, whoops, I thought we were going to have one that was not broken. Sorry. Okay, I'll bring a little wood glue to fix that. I was, like many other people, I was prescribed a statin. And Dr. Tim said, you're not taking a statin. There are other things you can do, but a statin is not good for our brain health. And that's correct, right?
Yes.
Tell us more.
You've got to be careful when you start painting with a big, broad paintbrush, okay? And there are people that benefit from statins. There are people that need them. I have patients that, this is like an AA. Hi, I'm Tim. I put a patient on a statin. I've done it. They have a very narrow therapeutic index, which means here's the benefit you get, here's the price you may pay. Statins are loaded with side effects that tend to be underreported. Number one, muscle fatigue, muscle ache, muscle pain, muscle weakness. So what happens? You go to the doctor, he says, holy crap, your cholesterol's a little high. Here's your statin. And you come back and you say, my legs are sore when I walk up the stairs. He goes, you're over 50, what do you expect? Statins also make it harder to control your blood sugar. They cause diabetes. They cause dementia. They cause transient global amnesia. And you're taking your statin like a good patient. You go in and you tell your doc, I went into the kitchen and I'm stone cold certain I went there for a reason. I just wish I knew what it was. He says, you're over 60. What do you expect? So they don't want to hear you when you come in and say, excuse me, I'm having side effects from the medication you just put me on. Now, again, I'm not saying that no one needs one, but damn near everybody's on them. Your body needs cholesterol. Every cell in your body has a cell membrane. Every one of those cell membranes uses cholesterol to make it. Your brain is mostly cholesterol, if we're talking weight. I have seen multiple patients come in that a well-meaning cardiologist has pushed their cholesterol numbers down to nothing, and they think they're getting Alzheimer's. They can't remember crap. And we stop the cholesterol drugs, and yeah, their cholesterol shoots up, but guess what? Their memory comes back. So you have to weigh your risk-benefit analysis, okay? When we did a meta-analysis, meaning looking at lots of studies and pooling the data, for different biochemical biomarkers and a risk for heart disease. Number one risk for heart disease, hemoglobin A1C, which is a measurement of your sugar, not your cholesterol. Your A1C is the number one risk factor that you will die of a heart attack. Number one, of the 10
Bless you.
10 markers that predicted heart disease, oxidized LDL, a test your doctor's probably never done, is the only cholesterol number that made the top 10. So the analogy I'll give patients when they come in is I'll say, look, if you take your grandkid over to Oak Park and he scoops up a handful of pebbles and throws them out onto the pond and says, Grandma, which rock made all those pretty ripples? You'd say, well, honey, there were a lot of rocks. Each rock contributed to the pattern of ripples, okay? Now, I'm not saying cholesterol's not one of the rocks. I'm saying that because mainstream medicine is literally driven by the pharmaceutical industry, they only see the cholesterol. And your average doctor, even with good doctors here, they're going to say, you know, if we just get your cholesterol low enough, all your problems are going to go away. No. We'll get it low enough, you're going to have other problems. What's your homocysteine level? That's a risk factor for heart disease. How do you lower that? Taking B vitamins. By the way, all the people that then go vegan and vegetarian because they've decided that's the way to protect their heart, you know what vegetarians all have? Low B vitamin levels, which raises their homocysteine, which is a big risk factor for heart disease. Well, boy, that worked out well. Okay. What's your uric acid? Everybody knows, oh, well, I don't have gout. Uric acid is a risk factor for heart disease. What drives your uric acid up? Fructose, fruit sugar, the orange juice. Okay? So in an ideal world, you want a doctor that looks at you, all of you, and looks at all of your risk factors. And yeah, I see people that have full-on dyslipidemia. Remember I said when we turn it into Greek, we can get paid for it? Okay. Their cholesterol is bad. Okay. But there are more drugs out there than just statins. Okay. We tend to forget recent history. Niacin, a B vitamin, years ago, that's all we had to lower cholesterol. Guess what? It still lowers cholesterol. Some drug company's not making a fortune off of it, but it lowers cholesterol. Ezetimibe is a nice med. By this one, I say, do not accept this as medical advice. Always consult with your healthcare practitioner. Ezetimibe is a drug
That's what I'm on.
that lowers cholesterol. Guess what? It's not. It's not a statin. Could you have a reaction to it? You can have a reaction to anything. Okay. So I've got 4 people that had upset their stomach. I got a lot of patients. I have one lady, God bless her. She came in. She didn't tell me about her headaches. She came in to see me in a follow-up. Said, yeah, I was getting headaches taking that pill, but I got my pill cutter out, cut it in half, and the headaches went away on half a pill. Like, huh? Because I wouldn't have thought to tell her that, so she taught me something that day. And I've had one person that said, it made my muscles sore. Theoretically, that can happen, but this particular patient had already been on 4 different statins and had terrible muscle pain with all of them. Maybe they're super sensitive. Personally, I think maybe they were already kind of psyched out that if I take a cholesterol drug, I'm going to get sore muscles. I didn't argue with them, we just stopped it. But there are options. And so the problem is, I have a dear friend that I went to college with. Not naming names, that's a HIPAA violation. But he reached out to me, you know, doctor appointment, blood work came in, cholesterol high, and what are they going to do? I'm going to put him on a statin. So, okay, count to 3 slowly. 1, get these other tests that your doctor never even did. Ask him to explain those to you. And oh, by the way, ask your doctor if he's ever heard of Ezetimibe. He got back to me, he says, doctor wasn't keen on it, but guess what he did? He wrote him the prescription. Because I wish it wasn't this way, but God is my witness. Okay, I've got another doctor in the room to back me up on this. You're a doctor, you're sitting in your office minding your own business, and guess what happens? Some extremely attractive representative of the drug company shows up in your office with some brochures and says, this is the best thing since sliced bread. Of course, I've already told you quit eating the stinking bread, sliced or not. Back in the day, before everything was on computer, guess what they showed up with? Prescription pads that were already filled out with the drug, so all you had to do as the doctor was write down the name and sign it.
Wow. Can I stop you real quick? We do have Dr. Rogers in the back,
Yeah.
and Dr. Rogers just retired from her OBGYN practice to commit her entire future to helping other people live better, as you. So here we have these two great minds, these two MDs that have gotten tired of being under the umbrella, and they've taken off on their own to help people. So are you a concierge doctor? Is that what
Yes.
And same with Dr. Rogers. In fact, I'm going to see her Monday.
Good.
What do you do?
You're the reason I can't get her to come see me.
She is local. Yes, she's local. But what do you do if you are going to one of those old school doctors who, when you start to talk to them, and they just kind of poo-poo what your concerns are?
That's a little tough. And, sometimes you got to pick your fights. But you also have to remember you're the patient. And having moved into a practice where it's cash and carry, because no, insurance isn't going to pay me to talk to you about not getting sick. They just want you to get sick, okay? They're not going to pay me. If you come see me your first visit, we spend 8 hours together the first day. 8 hours. So you think insurance is going to pay for that? Oh, hell no. But, again, when they say, you've got to do this, really? Because I thought I was the customer. The word doctor is derived from the Latin word doctore, which means to teach. My role at Synagenics is I'm your teacher. I inform you about what you've got going on. I help you interpret the results of the tests. I tell you this is where your health is. And based on decisions you're making and things you're doing, this is the direction your health is going into. And then what do? I make some suggestions. But I already told you, I'm not going to come to your kitchen and slap the oatmeal out of your hand. Okay? You're over 18. Make your own damn choice. But if you're paying me money, I'm not going to lie to you and say, oh, that's fine, just get steel cut. I'm going to say, I think that's a bad choice, but it's your choice to make. Okay? It's your choice to make. So when they say, you have to take this, say, oh, really? That's by law? I blinked, and the Biden administration snuck that in at the last moment that I have to take this drug? No, you don't. And you can feel free to say, what are my other options? Okay? I was a surgeon for 35 years. All the time I'd have people go, well, what could I do other than an operation? Actually, what was depressing to me, most people didn't want what's my other option, which is quit eating garbage and take care of yourself. They wanted me to just do the surgery, fix them, have me do the work to fix their poor choices. But before you're having a surgery, I mean, if it was a car crash and you're about to bleed to death, you got to do what you got to do, okay? But if you're looking at, getting a deviated septum fixed because you're not sleeping well, if they don't talk to you about what are the other things affecting your sleep and they just say, let's go straight to sinus surgery, are you sure about this? Okay? Maybe we ought to think about this. I have patients that they just recently had a baby, brought him to the office Monday. Cute little guy. And both parents are my patients, which means they've been educated. And mom had a rough go of the delivery, so they're still in the hospital. And the nurse comes in with a little tray, and she's got the syringe on it. And Dad says, what's that? She said, that's the hepatitis B shot. And my patient, God bless him, looked the nurse in the eye and said, well, Jameson, that's the baby, doesn't do IV drugs and he doesn't consort with prostitutes. I don't think he's at high risk for hepatitis B. We'll pass. And he was correct.
So you're saying we all need to find our voice.
Absolutely.
And I think we've got a question over here, right?
Yes. What do you think of the GL1P, Ozempic, Mounjaro, that kind of things for diabetes or for weight loss?
Okay. They're very exciting drugs. There is a problem with them, and the main problem, okay, remember I said the problem with a diet, you do something different, okay? You were walking over here. You said, I don't like being over here. So the diet is, okay, let's walk over here. But then you get tired of walking over here, and all of a sudden it's like, well, crap, I'm right back where I was, because you went back to walking over here. In the out there world, the sickness treatment world, yes, you have a disease, you are morbidly obese. That is a disease. At least it is now. So our treatment is we're going to give you this drug. That will be very helpful if they sit down with you and say, you understand you got this way because of what you're doing. You have got to change the way you eat. And if you don't make a commitment to a different lifestyle and you let the shot try to do the work for you, eventually you get tired of doing the shot, or your stinking insurance won't pay for it anymore for whatever reason. And if you never made a commitment to change your lifestyle up front, that's why you're seeing on social, oh yeah, people take Ozempic and when they stop, the fat comes right back. Well, no, it wasn't when they stopped Ozempic, it's when they went back to eating the way they were eating, okay? Now, I'm actually involved in a little study right now. It does look like that the GLP-1s have an effect on your blood sugar profile as it's absorbed and actually will help your blood sugar levels independent of what you're eating. And I'm going to admit I was skeptical on that to begin with, because you look at the commercials and it's a bunch of happy fat people dancing around saying, I'm lowering my A1C taking this stuff. It's like, yes, you are, and it's because you're no longer eating a box of Krispy Kreme donuts every morning. Duh. But I've got some patients that have an ideal body composition. They work out hard. They're eating really clean. And because of their biochemistry, we can't get their sugars where we want them, even with standard medications like metformin. And I've been talking to some researchers who are the top people in the world just 2 weeks ago with a guy from New Zealand, who think that even in people that are eating perfectly, if their sugars can't get under optimal control, that the GLP-1 can help. So it is the only thing I've seen other than crack cocaine that honest to God does lower appetite. You know, it's like we'll all stay skinny because we just won't eat, okay? But it's not. It doesn't come with the side effects of doing blow, but it does lower appetite. So it's very effective for weight loss. Now you're walking a thin line because it slows gastric emptying. So most people, it upsets their stomach. It's kind of a harsh taskmaster in terms of eating, because when you first start it, you go, well, we went out. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to have the appetizer. I'm going to have the entree. And you get home and it's like, oh, sweet Jesus. Should I just go throw up and get this over with now, or am I going to try to ride this out? So it kind of teaches you that overeating isn't a smart thing to do. But when I have somebody that comes to me overweight, if that's one of their top reasons for seeing me, I will not give them a GLP-1 right out of the gate. I will say, no, we are going to change your lifestyle. Now, we're going to fix some biochemical things. If their testosterone is low, which I'm sure it is, because everybody's after 25 is these days, that's a huge anchor pulling you under the surface. So we got to fix your hormonal imbalances. If your thyroid's not working right. Okay, and again, please, everybody's, I have a glandular problem. Yeah, it's the glands you're eating. But if your thyroid isn't working right, that's a problem too. It sets your metabolism. So we fix those things. And then when they come back in 6 weeks or 8 weeks, and I see they've made a commitment and they're moving in the right direction, but you know, you didn't get the way you got overnight. It's not going to change overnight either. And now they're being kind of down in the dumps. Well, this isn't going as fast as I hoped. That's when I pull the trigger on the semaglutide, the Ozempic, or the tirzepatide, because then I say, okay, this is going to help you, but it's not your get out of jail free card to go to Waffle House every morning.
You spoke a lot about sugar. Can you talk us about salt?
Okay, I sure can. And I'll give you my quick glib answer. Don't blame salt for what sugar did. I'm in the same age demographic, okay? I grew up with healthy fruits and vegetables. I already told you, no, it ain't. They're not the same. And we're all told salt is the devil. Salt's going to raise your blood pressure. You got to get away from salt. Now, everybody is an individual, okay? And again, I'm painting with a really big paintbrush. There are some people that have issues with sodium. Not very many. Extremely few. And for the average person, if you severely restrict salt intake, you will lower your blood pressure about 5 points. So if your blood pressure is 150 and your doctor says, cut out all salt, okay, you might get down to 145. Guess what? You're still hypertensive. And now everything tastes like gras-doux. And oh, by the way, your body, if we get your sodium low enough, you know what you do? You have seizures, okay? What I actually, for the majority of my patients, my problem is I've got them up here dancing their booties off, okay? So they're working up a sweat 3 or 4 times a week, and if they're going to the gym drinking distilled water, they're diluting their system down. They come back and their sodium's 133 or 134, which is low. And what do I tell them? I say, take a pinch, just a pinch, of your Celtic sea salt and throw that in your water jug. You can buy expensive electrolyte powders if you want, but you've already got the salt at home. So it's rare I see a patient, unless they've got some problem with their adrenal glands, they've got an aldosterone issue again. There's people that have issues with salt regulation and salt metabolism. But for 95% of us, we don't have a problem with too much salt. Your problem is you're getting your salt by licking the French fry before you eat that. That's the problem. And by the way, French fries are the poster child for not really food, because the potatoes are not just high glycemic, pure stone cold sugar. They're cooked in seed oils. Because remember, I told you how the tobacco industry bought up the food people and used that same playbook. So why did the butter go away? Because the food industry paid money to the American Heart Association to say, give everybody corn oil. Give everybody canola oil. They're omega-6s. They increase inflammation. They cause atherosclerosis and heart attacks. Okay? So the fries are cooked in these terrible poisonous omega-6 fatty acids. When McDonald's first came to town, right over there on 13th, the fries were cooked in beef tallow. Now, they're still taters, but at least it wasn't corn oil or canola oil. Worse yet, do they change that oil out every time? No, they use it over and over again, and the oils racemarize, which turns them into trans fats, which are carcinogens, and it's at high temperature. And the sugar on the surface of the tater, when it's in that really hot oil, turns into what are called acrylamides. Those are cancerous, and they also raise your blood sugar even higher. So the only thing, if you're really going to say, no, I'm going to go buy the French fries, good. Buy the French fries, lick the salt off, and throw the rest of it away. Please.
So my question is, what is your stance about bioidentical hormones?
My stance on bioidentical hormones is it pisses me off that 2 of us in this room have to say bioidentical hormone, and the disease-treating owned by the drug company shills aren't required to say synthetic poisonous crap. The Women's Health Initiative study, and I'm going to try not to go on all day, but I could. That's what scared a generation of women out of hormones, and worse yet, it bamboozled a generation of doctors who should have known better into thinking hormones are dangerous. Well, what was the problem? It was the pill. The pill. Okay? Anybody remember Premarin? Okay? Where'd they come up with that name? Pregnant mare. It's conjugated equine estrogen that they get from the urine of pregnant horses. So it's kind of sort of like human estrogen, but that's not the real problem. It is the pill. It's a pill. You swallow it. Never give estrogen by mouth. Never take estrogen by mouth. Don't let anybody put estrogen in your mouth. It's poisonous. And the doctors that are giving estrogen by mouth know if you give testosterone by mouth, it shuts your liver down. You can't do that. Testosterone's not a pill. It's a cream or a shot. It's not a pill. They're willing to give women estrogen by mouth. Okay? Estrogen by mouth raises inflammation. I already told you that causes all kinds of bad stuff. It also increases something called matrix metalloprotein. Now, this study was done on a bunch of VA nurses, and nothing against nurses. I love them. Love the bejesus out of them. But they're not as healthy as a lot of y'all think they are, okay? And this study was far enough back that you probably had a bunch, and VA tends to attract an older working population. So you got a bunch of mature nurses, many of whom are probably smoking. So they've already got some rate of atherosclerotic disease, which was not stratified out for in this study. And they give them estrogen by mouth, and they start having heart attacks and strokes, and they say, oh my God, hormones cause heart attacks and strokes. Estrogen by mouth raises metallomatrix protein, and that causes pre-existing plaque to rupture, and that causes heart attacks and stroke. It proved that taking estrogen by mouth is dangerous. The drug company cannot patent anything your body makes. That sounds like a good idea. Why should those greedy SOBs make money off of something your body makes? The problem is they're in it to make the money. That's why when the Wu flu came out, Fauci didn't come out and say, everybody take vitamin D, we can nip this in the bud, because we could have, but there was no money in it. So is there any progesterone in the pill? No. Because if it was real progesterone and real estrogen, they couldn't patent it. Your body's already making it. So you don't have to go to biochemistry. Just picture this as the progesterone molecule. We're going to change it here, here, and here, and now it is 5-medroxyprogestin. It's not progesterone, they're progestins. They're kind of sort of like it. Now, why did anybody take the pill? To not get preggers. That's it. That's the sole reason for existence of the birth control pill. Don't get pregnant. Progesterone has 22 different functions in a woman's body, and are any of those 22 functions don't get pregnant? No. It just so happens during your cycle, depending on where your estrogen, progesterone, and your uterus are, you can or can't. But it's not progesterone's job to keep you from getting preggers. Okay? Estrogen increases mitotic activity. That's our scientific word for saying just the cells reproduce. Okay, you're stepping on the gas pedal. Real progesterone rides the brake. It says, are you sure you want to do that? Okay, so estrogen's stepping on the gas pedal, progesterone's riding the brake. Medroxyprogestin doesn't do that. Says you want to jack mitotic activity up, go ahead, we don't care, it's not our job. In your body, your estrogen's metabolized down 3 pathways. I'm going to go fast. One of them promotes cancer, breast cancer. One of them is protective. One of them, the jury's still out. Progesterone shifts a woman's metabolism towards the healthy metabolite. Progesterone protects you from breast cancer. Medroxyprogestin shifts your metabolism to the procancerous metabolite. It causes breast cancer. So what'd they say? Oh my God, hormones cause breast cancer. No, synthetic, toxic, poisonous crap causes breast cancer. And bioidentical hormones is what they make the two of us say to say, no, I'm going to give you real hormones just like God wanted you to make for yourself. Those don't cause cancer, they protect you from it if they're done right. Those don't cause heart attacks, they protect you from it. Those don't cause strokes, they protect you from it. And they protect your bones, they protect your brain, they protect your muscles. And when we're finished here, you go over and ask my wife to choose between parting with her hormones that I've had her on for 22 years or parting with her children, and she will tell you the boys had a good run, she'll miss them.
I think we have time for one more question.
What can you do about high blood pressure in natural ways, but taking the medicines that have more side effects than the blood pressure?
Okay. We're going to pretend I just walked up here. Don't go to the table over there with the orange juice and the donuts. Okay? You get off of the crap that's toxic. You increase your exercise. You get rid of the body fat. You optimize your body composition. A woman needs to have a percentage body fat that is less than 25%. And that's not aesthetics. That's not a new bikini on Aruba. That's healthy. under 25%. And then you have to start exercising. And the majority of my people, that when they come to me, I put them on a blood pressure medicine because their blood pressure isn't high enough. Their sickness treatment doc hasn't gone, well, you're not officially hypertensive yet. Come back when you are. And I say, not where we want it to be. But they're in terrible shape. And I say, we're doing this today because I don't want you to have a heart attack while I'm waiting for you to get your potato healthied up. Okay? But now, and again, everybody's different. Some people, I take a blood pressure medicine. Okay? At 10% body fat and working out regularly and eating well, I just need it. Okay, that's in my genetics. But most people can at least reduce their medication if they'll just get their health back. So again, people keep looking for what's the secret, and the secret is a low glycemic diet and vigorous exercise, to include weightlifting that you got to do for your muscles and bones, but aerobic training. So if you've got a blood pressure issue, the first thing to do is start walking rapidly, and not walking fast enough you're getting short of breath. And when you're not getting short of breath walking, guess what? You've just become a jogger, okay? And actually, I don't like road work. It's hard on the knees. So you get on the elliptical or the exercise bike or the rowing machine, but you have got to break a sweat, and you have got to be gasping for breath. And if you'll do that 3 to 4 times a week for half an hour, guess what else? Most recent meta-analysis of what are the most effective treatments to treat mild cognitive impairment and prevent Alzheimer's. 45 minutes, 3 times a day of level 2 aerobic exercise. That article was published in the Annals of Neurology, and in front of the article was an ad for an Alzheimer's drug that doesn't work but causes strokes. And behind that paper was an ad for another drug to treat Alzheimer's that doesn't work but causes brain edema and brain hemorrhages. And between those 2 drug ads, which are paying for the stinking magazine to come out, is the real truth that if you'll exercise strenuously 3 times a week, that's going to work better than anything else to not get Alzheimer's. And while a heart attack is what's going to kill most of us, at the back of the mind, what everybody in the room was worrying about is sitting in a corner somewhere drooling on themselves, not knowing who's talking to them. Mm-hmm. So again, find your why, and getting off the sugar, because many neurologists now call Alzheimer's disease type 3 diabetes. Getting off the stinking sugar and exercising is the single most important thing you can do to not get dementia.
And Dr. Tim, you said no fruits, but that Kim likes her berries. So if someone does like fruit, they could have raspberries and blueberries once a week?
Remember I said you got to check your vitamin D level. You got to check your hemoglobin A1C and your fasting insulin. My partner and I like to say you can have all the debauchery that you can biochemically tolerate. Okay? So in other words, if Jake comes in to see me and his hemoglobin A1C is 4.9, which is great, and he says, can I have some blueberries here and there? Can I have some strawberries? The problem with strawberries, they're terribly laden with pesticides, so organic only. But can he have some berries? Yeah, because his A1C is 4.9. But if he comes in to see me and his hemoglobin A1C is 5.9, then he's not allowed to be in the same room with a bowl of fruit. Okay? And again, people's chemistries are different. For years, I looked at that pretty lady and I said, spit that crap out. And she would look at me and say, my numbers are better than yours. Okay? My blood sugar goes up watching her eat. Okay? People are different. Okay? Now, she eats too much garbage. I beat your ass the last 2 blood tests. Okay? So eventually, you eat yourself into a hole. But she can get away with stuff I can't. And that's part of just understanding your biochemistry. Okay? So in general, the answer is no, nada, none. Tropical fruit juice is the worst. Dried fruits are next. Tropical fruits are next. So some apples, some citrus, some berries. Not that bad. But people go, but the blueberries have all these polycyanins and anthocyanins. Yeah, they do. That's why I take a blueberry extract in a pill every day, because I want the good stuff in it, but I can't tolerate the sugar that comes with them. Okay? So I talk to people about less bad choices. If you're having the steel-cut oatmeal with a sliced-up banana every morning, is a bowl of blueberries on top of a little whole cream whipped a better choice? Yeah, it's a less bad choice. But if I can get you to the bowl of berries, then I'm going to say, okay, now that you're used to a bowl of berries, how about if we have a vegetable omelet with a few berries on the side like a garnish at a fancy restaurant?
There you go. There you go. Well, Dr. Tim will be around for just a few minutes. I know we didn't get some of the questions answered, like what books you recommend, but we're going to have to close for the morning. But your contact information is somewhere. I think we have it on a slide if anyone wants to reach out to you. We've got that information, and Dr. Watt is in the Denver area, so it would involve you traveling for that 8-hour-long appointment, and then the blood work, and you like to see your patients at least once a year in person.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we want to say thank you to all of our people. Thank you so much for your generous time. We appreciate it. And we also want to remind you next week is the third Thursday, so we have a Downsizers Club if anyone's interested. April's in the back and Jillian, and they can help you with that. And we just thank all of you for coming. It's been a wonderful turnout. I'm glad you mentioned the seed oils because those aren't good for our brain either.
Correct.
And everything is cooked in seed oils, especially in restaurants. So go back to beef tallow. And then next month, I'm in charge again. So like either use that as what do they say? If you can't be a good example, be a horrible warning. So I'll be back next month, and we're going to have a Christmas special.